Akwaba, anuanom ne adɔfo. Yebia kamienu mudin mominja mediane. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the facts according to Barry Makobnaibo, Mississippi. These are the facts according to me. Need I remind you the purpose of this program? This is an Afrocentric, political and current affairs program. Mitrese, ebia ne ene your first time I worship Jumediewe. Jumediewe eya bibi man hu nsem amanyosem ene nsem we sisi wo ye man ne ewiase ne bibi man nyina hu nsem ene ebesua. Aha ya base ebesua de. Ene ebeto se ne ebekasiete. So the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church is dead. Pope Francis is demised, and it is pertinent that we'll do a lesson on religion, a lesson on Christianity, a lesson on Roman Catholicism, which is Christianity. So that is the lesson, and the topic for today is a lesson on religion, the God key. A lesson on religion, the God key. Before we go into it, we have to start with some little bit of European history. This is not a mean that I'm going to proselytize European history to you, but before we get the background of what we're going to learn about religion, we must know where it started, how it started, and how it began. So we go into the history. And I've already elucidated that Europeans, especially the Greeks, who were the masters or who are the masters of the Europeans, who civilized the rest of Europeans, came to land in Africa. They came to land in Egypt. Then they called the continent Egypt. The Egypt word is a Greek word, which means black skin, from the Greek word Aegyptos. And Aegyptos was turned into Egyptian or Egypt. And Egypt is the land of the blacks in Greek. So the Greeks gave the name Egypt to the continent Africa as we know it right now. So they came to land here. And before they could invent anything of their own, Africans civilized the world. Every part of the world, human beings live now. Black people, Africans civilized the world. We civilized everywhere. We Africans were the first men, the first people, the first humans are black. The first man and the first woman were black, were Africans. The world started here in Africa. Civilization started here. It is well documented in their histories. Metrese, ansa na yebesua ene yebesua de Pope biewu, Roman Catholic Church for Pope, Roman for Pope wu. Nti ye wose yesua de senia omo nyamesom any religion start here. Nti ansa na yebeye sa na yese yesua abrofo omo history senia omo hya ase ansa na omo bedu pempen so ye omo aduri. Nti no ho adesua ne yesua ene. The Europeans, the first men in Europe were the Greeks. They came to land here in Africa. And then, before they could create their own, the world was pantheistic. When I say the world, the spiritual system in the world then was pantheistic. It means they recognized different divinities of one aspect of the Creator. The whole world acknowledged that the creation came from a bigger mind and very intelligent mind. That mind was not human. That mind was above human. That mind that created the whole world and everything, every natural thing in it was above human, and that spirit was in the world and was in everything and is in everything that intelligence created. And that intelligence, Africans or the Egyptians called it Amen. It is not called him or called her Amen, called it Amen. Before the white people made God a man, that God became a he, God was known as it. God was an androgynous. Androgynous means it is an entity that has both male and female element in it. God is not a man, as the Christianity has made God look now. When we go into the world history, how civilized people started the world, the spirituality of the world was pantheistic, means they recognized different aspects of the divine creator. Yes, there's a creator of the universe, but before they called it God, God, that name was Amen. The Africans, the Egyptians, called that creative element or creative intelligence Amen. And Amen simply means the hidden one, the one you can't see with your eyes. So it was a spiritual system that the Egyptians recognized 12 divinities, 12 aspects of the same creator. And they had names for these 12 aspects. And these names, Amen was the supreme. Amen was the chief of the divinities. And this pantheistic system, the Greeks learned it, and Greek philosophers and their civilizers established their own. They created their own pantheon. After they created the Greek civilization, they created their own spiritual system, which was also pantheistic. It was not monotheistic. Monotheistic means one universal God as we know it right now, that the whole world recognizes a one universal creator. Either a Muslim or a Christian recognizes one universal creator. And the Christians called that universal creator God or Jehovah or Yahweh. Yahweh from the ancient Jewish origin, from the Torah, where they claim to have got the old system. So they learned the pantheistic system of the Africans, and the Greeks created their own. The Romans came to learn from the Greeks. When the Greek civilization fell in Egypt here, in Africa here, in the hands of a woman called Cleopatra, now the Romans came up, and the Romans took up the mantle, and the Romans created their own pantheon. And that pantheon, the chief of the gods was Jupiter. So the world was pantheistic until the Romans began and established their civilization or empire. The Roman Empire started in the year 31 BC, 31 before Christ, and ended in 1483 in Constantinople. Constantinople is present-day Turkey. When you hear Constantinople or Nicaea, they were all domains of the Roman Empire. In fact, it was the capital of the Roman Empire one time. So the Romans also invented their own pantheon. It means they recognized 12 divinities as the Egyptians knew, and the Greeks learned from the Egyptians, the Africans, and the Romans came to learn from the Greeks, and they had their own pantheon. So the creation of the Roman Empire came from 31 BC to the 15, but the year 590, in the year 590 AD, there was an emperor called Constantine. Emperor Constantine was the emperor of Rome, and there was a pope of the Catholic Church. And first, it wasn't known as the Roman Catholic Church. It was simply the Catholic Church. It was after the Protestantism came that they added Roman to the Catholic Church to identify it as belonging to Rome alone, not every part of Europe, after the fall of the Roman Empire. So the Catholic Church got state recognized or got universalized as a state religion by Constantine, Emperor Constantine the Great. And he and Pope Gregory I, they reinvented the Catholic Church into a state church. And the Roman Empire had colonies all around the world. And I've told you, we've learned before that all the countries in Europe now were part of the Roman Empire until its fall in 1483 thereabout. So the Roman Empire had colonies all around the world. And one of the colonies that was giving them trouble outside Europe was in a place. In fact, it was in Africa, but they called that place the Middle East, in the sense that there was a country called Israel. Israel, and this Israel country was giving the Roman Empire trouble, in the sense that there were rebel fighters and dissidents in that colony, and the Romans, but they were advanced in the sense that they had started the history of their system. They had a record keeping system like the ancient Egyptians and the Greeks, that they would have scribes, people who are known as scribes. There will be historians who will write the history of the land for future generations to come and learn from records. So the Romans were fighting, and one Roman general called Vespasian. Vespasian was a Roman general, and he was in charge of the army commanding Africa and the Middle East. And one colony called the Israel was giving them trouble. And so the fight of the Jews, they fought the Jews, and the Roman Empire defeated the Jews. One of the commanding the soldiers of the Jews in Galilee was called Josephus Bar Mattathiahu. And this man was captured. He was a prince. He was of a cleric and royal background. It means his father was a priest of the Jewish people, and he was a scribe. He knew the history of the land. And the Josephus was also told in the line of his father that he was being trained to be a scribe after his father dies. So the Romans conquered this colony, and they captured some of the Jewish scribes to Rome. And one of them, called Josephus Bar Mattathiahu, this man sold out to the Jewish people, and he became a Roman. So he adopted the name Flavius. So he became known as the Josephus Flavius, and he became a Roman. Now, because he was a historian of the Jewish people, he started telling and recording the history of. He had 2 books before they captured him. Those books were the War of the Jews and the Roman and Jewish wars of ancient Israel. And when they captured him, the Vespasian general, this man, because he was a scribe, prophesied to the general that he was going to be an emperor of Rome. And not long, this Vespasian became emperor of Rome. And this Josephus became his right-hand man, his historian, his translator, and they translated what they called the text from the Jewish people, which was called the Torah. Now, Josephus made avail to them that there are books called the Pentateuch from a man called Moses, who had written some 5 books that he got them directly from God, that the Jewish God, Yahweh, spoke to that man and gave him books, including commandments. And this Vespasian Roman got knowledge of that, and he made Josephus translate the so-called Jewish text into Roman language and Roman text. And those became the basis of the Bible as we know it right now. Yes, it is the Romans who wrote the Bible. In fact, Christianity is from the Rome. Catholicism is Christianity. Every church we know right now came from the Roman Catholic Church. They were all part of it, because all the European countries in Europe were part of the empire, and all of them were Roman colonies, and they were Roman by religion. So the Romans started what is called religion. Religion is different from spirituality. Spirituality is what every culture has their own spirituality, their means of explaining the existence of life, the meaning of life, how life came about, who created life, and what man is supposed to do in this life and the afterlife. Every culture had theirs intact, and every culture was validated with their spiritual history and knowledge until the Romans invented religion. And religion became the two tools they used to colonize the world. The first tool was the military. Military falls under politics, and we've done a lesson on politics. So the other aspect of the weapon is the religion. The military came with force, but the religion came with mental appeal. It means the doctrine will be preached to you. So the Romans created religion and spread it through their empire and their colonies. And when Protestantism was when some other members of the colonies in Rome realized that they didn't agree with what everything the Pope says from Rome, that they were trying to explain the world in God's perspective. They were trying to explain what the universe is all about in a Roman perspective, that it biases them, that they wouldn't accept. So Protestantism started. So we had the Lutherans from Germany. In Germany, when the Roman Empire fell in the 15th century, countries like Germany also created their religion. They got out of the Roman Catholic Church and created Lutheranism. And the Swiss created the Basel or Presbyterianism, and the Swiss created, the English created Anglicanism. The English became Anglicans. So the Anglican Church was the state church of England. But before the creation of the Anglican Church, they were Romans, and they learned Christianity. The doctrine of the Jesus Christ came from Rome. In fact, it was decided in a conference in Nicaea in Constantinople, Turkey, by the Roman Empire to decide what should go in the Bible. The Bible was created by a man called Josephus Flavius. I've told you. And the state of Rome recognized it as a state religion, part of the weapon of the empire to colonize the world. So they would come with an army and priests, and they would use the priests to negotiate that they were representing the Creator, and the Creator's name was God. In fact, so when the Romans created the Catholic religion, and the Conference of Nicaea decided that they would recognize one monotheistic creator of the world called Yahweh. In Latin became Jehovah. And Jehovah, when the English adopted it and Anglicanism came, Jehovah became God. And God is simply a code name. In fact, I've told you the true name of the creator of the universe is called Amen. They learn it from Africa here, how we know it. And that's why every prayer of every religion, they must end it with Amen. And they'll fool you. They will tell you Amen means let it be done. But Amen has a different meaning. Amen is the creator of the hidden one, of the one who is hidden in all of us, the divine one, the divine intelligence in every creation. That is Amen. It is in every creation. It is not outside you. It is inside you. It is in every creation he created, or it created. So that intelligence lives in the universe. The whole universe is encompassed with that intelligence called Amen. But religion would fool man to bring that creator outside, make the creator live in a higher realm called heaven, a place you can't reach, a place that is not close to you. So you would strive for something you can't get, but the creator is here. The creator, you must know. The knowledge of the creator brings divinity close. And that is what religion didn't want. Spirituality made man free. Religion enslaved man. Religion indoctrinized man. But spirituality is culture. It sets man free. Man knows how to live by way of spirituality within the culture. Once man negates the culture or spirituality of the culture and man adopts a foreign religion, man alienates himself from his environment. So the former European spiritual system, which was pantheistic, there are 12 divinities they called pantheon. Mm. They didn't want to leave those gods they knew behind after they created the Christian doctrine. So they hid those 12 divinities in another form. So Pope Gregory created the Gregorian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar is the calendar the whole world live by, or let me say, the world which live under Western civilization live by. The calendar, which is 2025 years old, that we live by now, is called the Gregorian calendar. And it is instituted by Pope Gregory, and they hid those 12 divinities within their old pantheon. In those 12, they created a calendar. So it was 12 months within 1 year. And each of the month carries the gods of the Roman Empire. So January was named after the god Janus. And February was named after a festival of new beginnings called Februa. And March was named after the god of war called Mars. And April was named after Aperire. And May was named after the earth goddess called Maya. And June was the name of the wife of the supreme chief of the Roman gods, who was Jupiter. So June was named after Juno. Juno was the wife of Jupiter. And July is when they started naming the months after humans. So July was named after Julius Caesar, the most popular Caesar of the Roman Empire. So August was named after the first emperor of the Roman Empire, Augustus Caesar. So September starts the number recognition of the old Roman Empire before they created the Gregorian calendar. So in the old Roman Empire, they had a month called September. Sept in Latin will be 7. So September was the 7th month of the old Roman calendar before they created the Gregorian calendar. And October became the 10th month in the Gregorian calendar. But Oct in Latin is 8, which was the 8th month of the old Roman calendar. And November is the 11th month in the Gregorian calendar, but in the Roman language, Latin, nona or novem is actually 9. So it was the 9th month they adopted into the Gregorian calendar, and we go decim. Decim is the 10th month of the old Roman calendar, and they adopted it, became the 12th month of the Gregorian calendar. So you see, the calendar we live by and count every day, either you're a Christian, pagan, traditionalist, or whatever, or Muslim, you're mentioning the pagan name. Yes, that's a fact. You're mentioning the pagan name So the name of the months are pagan, even though we live in a Christian world. And the names of the week